want to thank everyone for all the amazing words you've said about Papa, and I don't feel adequate to be up here after all these amazing men of God have spoken. But Papa was always the encourager, and I know that he would tell me that I can do it. We've heard a great deal about Papa's life ministry, the impact he had on lives around the world. I really want to bring it close to home, though. Just speak on behalf of what Papa meant to me, a granddaughter, and to our family. As a little girl, I didn't really fully understand the scope of his ministry and all of the missionary work that he had done. But I did understand his love for me. You know, with a million memories at a time like this and over the course of my life of Papa, it's surprising the ones that stick with me at a moment like this. Memories that I would not have guessed would just be stuck in my heart today, and memories that you might find a little silly. But for some reason, they're with me today, and it makes me smile when I think about Papa. They're not the memories where he changed the world, as we're hearing all about today, but they're the memories that demonstrated his love to his family. It's interesting how we try to sum up a life with a phrase or a story or a word. When I heard the news that Papa had passed from this life, one word immediately just popped into my heart, and it stayed there ever since. And that word is the word faithful. You all know Papa. He was not flamboyant, flashy, flaunting, flighty. He was just simply faithful. The proverb says, "Many claim to have unfailing love, but a faithful person who can find?" And I believe that I have found one such person, my Papa. A friend said to me last week, "It doesn't matter how long we have our loved ones with us, does it? We just want to hang on to them a little longer." And that is so true. How blessed we were to have him for 93 long years, but today I just wish I could have hung on to him a little longer. Quite some time ago, a very long time ago, I heard Sister Rodenbush speak a sermon, and it was entitled "Something to Hang On To." And Sister Rodenbush, I kept that nail for a very long time. And that sermon rushed back into my heart and my mind this week as I was thinking of Papa. His faithfulness was like that nail. It was like that rock that I can hang on to as I'm climbing on my journey. It was just so steadfast and so sure. And although I can't really hang on to Papa any longer, he did give his family something to hang on to forever. An example of faithfulness in just so many ways. He was so faithful to love. You know, Papa was not a real huggy type. But he was always so quick to hug back. He was quick to give a pat on the back and so quick to encourage. He had that kind of agape love that just put others first. And oh, how he loved our Granny Evelyn. His faithfulness to her is etched in my heart forever. And he showed us his love by just being present, really being present. When I was with Papa, I felt like he was with me fully. There wasn't always a need for words, but his presence was just so comforting, and you felt like he wanted to be there, whether it was coming to my children's kindergarten graduations or grandparents' day at their school, or whether it was when he was sitting with me when I was 5 years old. I remember this vividly, reading book after book to him, books that I had really memorized, but I was pretending to be reading, and he never let on that he really knew. He just acted like there was no other place that he would rather be. He was faithful to love baseball, too. He frequently attended my son Judd's baseball games. In fact, he was kind of the team papaw. So much so that one of Judd's teammates was here earlier today to pay his respects. What an influence he even had on some 12-year-old baseball players. They loved their papaw. And he loved the Cardinals. How fitting that the Cardinals won last night in a ninth-inning walk-off home run against the Cubs. Go Cards. Papaw would be so happy for you. He was even kind to my husband, Chad, who's the biggest Cubs fan in the room. He even loved him. Papaw was not only faithful to love, but he was faithful to serve. You know, we've heard so much about his faithfulness to the work of the Lord. Even to his very last days, I want you to know that Papaw was serving. He didn't like loose ends that weren't tied up. He didn't like books that weren't balanced. He liked a plan. And he would actually, while in hospice, work on his laptop, balancing books, doing payroll, teaching Brother Burton what to do next. He was wrapping it up. His last words were the day before he passed away, while family and friends were gathered around his bed thinking he was just mere moments from meeting Jesus. He was in a deep sleep, and all of a sudden he roused like he was just taking a short little cat nap and looked around the bed. He looked right at Brother Burton and he said 5 words. Did you pay the taxes? Brother Burton told him they were paid. And Papaw smiled and said, I knew you could do it. Is there anything else on your mind, Papaw? Nope. And those were his last words the day before he died. My son Judd and I laugh every time we think of that, and we talk about it often. Famous last words that fit Papaw so well. Did you pay the taxes? You know, he had things on his mind. He liked things wrapped up, and he wanted to know that he had taught well. Jesus knew that Papaw wouldn't rest in his arms with unsettled business here on earth. So as soon as Papaw knew his work was done, he was ready to leave it for his next assignment in heaven. Papaw was always faithful to give. Although Papaw was frugal, very frugal, he was also so consistent in his generosity. I knew his faithfulness would come through with a personalized, hand-picked birthday card every single year on time with a beautiful green-colored paper inside. And at Christmas, there was no card, just the wonderful envelope from the bank with the beautiful green-colored paper inside. You always knew what to expect with Papaw, and he was so faithful to give. With 2 children and 5 grandchildren and 14 great-grandchildren and all of the spouses, he faithfully kept up with 28 cards and birthday gifts. I was lucky enough to live in a house beside Papaw for most of my childhood, and I have this very vivid memory. Around the age of 7, living in St. Louis beside him, we shared a backyard. Both Papaw and my dad liked beautiful landscaping. And our yards were always the most beautiful in the neighborhood. They spent a lot of time cultivating these flowers and these shrubs. It was always pretty. And as a little girl one summer, my cousin Cammie and I would play in the backyard. And we had this great idea one day that we were going to make our own soaps and shampoos and perfumes and wonderful smelling concoctions from the flowers in my dad's backyard. Now, why are y'all laughing? You know what's coming, don't you? So my dad got wind of our idea pretty quick and said, "I do not think so. My flowers are here to stay." So guess where we went? We went over to Papaw's yard. And Papaw said, "Sure, you can have some flowers." So about 2 hours later, as Papaw comes out on his back porch and surveys his yard, it is completely colorless. There is not one flower, every stem is bare, every bush is bare, and he just looks at it and goes, "They'll grow back. They'll grow back." So after we have used Papaw's flowers, Papaw's shampoo, Papaw's soap, we invite him to come look at our store on his back porch, where we now expect him to purchase all of the wonderful things that we have made. And he did. He was faithful to give and just make a special memory for two little girls that I will never forget. Papaw was faithful in learning. Papaw knew everything. It didn't matter the subject. He could talk about investments, politics, baseball, world travel, the Bible, geography, history, technology, golf, woodworking, building, gardening, psychology. He was always learning, and he was always the smartest guy in the room. The cool thing was that other people rarely knew it. You see, Papaw did not flaunt his intelligence. He never felt the need to be the expert. In a room full of Judds and Hollands, where there's lots of type A personalities and lots of opinions, he would often just stay quiet with his thoughts until specifically asked. And then when asked, many times he would phrase his answer in this vague way that was so non-judgmental or emphatic, but very thoughtful, like he was one step ahead of you. He had already given it a lot of thought. He often phrased his answer in such a way to make you think more about where you stood on the subject, to think deeper, because just as he was faithful in learning, he was also faithful in teaching. Once he knew he had taught someone else to continue his work on earth, his mind was able to rest and he left this earth. His last words were words of teaching and encouragement. "I knew you could do it." What a legacy of encouragement he left behind. I always knew that Papa believed in me, that he believed in us grandchildren. He knew we could do anything. Living close to him, he would often know how I was doing in school. He would see my report cards. And if I made a 95, he would kind of wink at me and say, "You could have made a 100. Never in a way to make me feel like I didn't measure up, but in a way that was just full of encouragement, like, just keep striving. You can do it. Be the best you can be. And you know what? I did try harder the next time. Papa taught us how to live, but he also taught us how to die. As he wondered aloud whether his appointment with Jesus was drawing near, he said with a heart of peace, "It is appointed unto man to die." He was a voice of the hero of the faith we have heard all of our lives, and we are at peace because he was at peace, and he is at peace. You may not know this about Papa, but he was a great secret keeper. He could keep my secrets. There were times when I called him with questions, and I knew it wouldn't go any further. He could also keep his own secrets, however. He had a secret that I remember discovering at the very young age of 6. I always saw on Papa's stationery that his name was E. Judd. And it dawned on me at a very young age that I did not know what the middle E stood for. So us 5 grandkids got together one day, And we decided we were going to go ask Papa. So we go into his house, and he was painting a room, I remember. And we were all giggling, and we were all nervous. We said, Papa, what does your Middle E stand for? And he wouldn't tell us. So you know that makes 5 little kids want to know even more, right? So where do you think we go? We went to Aunt Donna. Do you remember this? We said, Aunt Donna, you got to tell us what Papa's Middle E stands for. And so she told us. And so, of course, we thought we had one-upped Papa. And we all go in there, and we just tease him mercilessly for about an hour. And he's a really good sport about it. And after teasing him for about an hour, we went on to more play, and we never brought it up again. I think we knew we might be pushing our luck a little bit. You're all wanting to know now, aren't you? I think I'm going to let Papa take that secret with him. We kind of owe him that, I think. But in closing, one of my best, very recent memories with Papa was when he came to visit us in Charlotte a couple of months ago. And after his visit, he rode back to Tupelo with me and Judd and Jayla and our dog, Pringle. An 8-hour road trip. And did I mention we had our dog, Pringle, with us? Pringle was not too happy about Papa sitting in his seat. And Papa was not too happy about Pringle wanting to sit on his lap. And so they started to stake their claims here pretty quickly. And it was so funny to watch Papa as he was figuring out how to deal with this energetic puppy that wanted to be in his seat. The battle of the wills had begun. But Papa was such a smart man. He kept our energetic puppy calm and in his place behind Papa's seat for 8 hours by feeding him 1 piece of dog food every few minutes. Even my puppy knew that Papa was faithful. I share that story with you because it makes me laugh, but it just also reminds me that even in the little things, Papa was faithful. And as we know from the Gospel of Luke, if we are faithful in the little things, God will make us faithful over big things. So I'm giving you the backstory, the examples of the little things that were big things to a granddaughter, the little memories that I will hang on to. The little examples that now help us understand why God made Edwin E. Judd faithful over much. Like the Apostle Paul, Papa fought the good fight. He finished the race, and he kept the faith. And I have no doubt that Papa is now hearing Jesus say, "Well done, thy good and faithful servant." That is something that I will hang on to.